That is, you should be able to allocate some time for reading and writing. And allocating the time means that you do not burden yourself towards close to the deadlines. Rather, you start working on the project well in time. So that is the first thing about managing your project. That is to develop proper study habits. The second thing about managing the project is to manage your readings. Now, for the arguments, you will be using at least 5 readings. Okay, I'll we will discuss it later where those readings will come from. You will be using at least 5 resources to write your arguments. Now, that does not mean that you directly start writing. Instead, first you need to understand those resources and then you start writing. Now, suppose if each resource has roughly 15 pages in it, those would be lot many pages to read. Okay, so how are you going to manage the reading of those many pages? Now, the skill that is very important in order to manage such huge reading is the skill of note taking. So while you read every resource, you should you should take notes accordingly, and take notes in such a manner that you should know for each resource why are you reading that particular resource. Now, for example, if you want to so if you wrote your controversy analysis paper on the acceptability of vaccination, okay, among general public, you already wrote your controversy analysis paper. Now you want to argue that the biggest obstacle in people's acceptance of vaccines is ignorance about the vaccines. So if we inform people about the benefits of vaccine at a bigger scale, then more people will be ready to accept it. Okay, now that is the position that you're going to take. Okay, now as I told you earlier, you cannot write the arguments just from your own self. Rather, your argument should be based upon the readings that you have done. Okay, and for that you need to read 5 resources. Now, when you read those 5 resources, you have to look for the answer of this question. And the question is how people can be convinced to get vaccinated. Okay. And then write down the answer of this question in form of notes in the light of what you read. So if you find a quote, or if you find an idea, or if you find a phrase in the reading that you are doing which answers this particular question, how we can convince people to get vaccinated. So wherever you find the answer, just underline that part or write a note about that in your own notebook. Okay. No, and whenever and wherever you take notes, you must mention the resource about which you took that note. For example, if you noted down a phrase, or you noted down an idea while reading an article, you must take down the name of the article and other information related to article along with the notes, because after you read 5 resources, you probably will forget what you read in which article. Okay, so treat the second article in the same manner. That is, find the answer of this question, how we can convince people to get vaccinated and take notes or underline relevant parts or whatever in second article as well. So you do the same thing with 5 resources. Now, after you are done with the reading process, let's suppose you gave in total 5 days to the reading. So you read 1 article in a day. So at the end of 5 days, you will have your notes from all those 5 articles, okay, in a separate notebook, right? Now when you are going to write your paper, you are not going to read lengthy articles once again. Rather, you are only going to use those notes which are there in your notebook. Okay. So this is about managing your reading. All right. Now we come to the last thing, which is managing your writing, the writing process. Okay. So just like reading, we should not postpone writing towards the end of the semester or to the close of the deadline. So the best rule to understand is that you should give. So for example, if you have 3 weeks to write your paper and submit it, you should spend 2 weeks. That is 2 parts of your total time, 2/3 of your total time on writing your paper, and you should reserve 1/3 of the total time for the revision. So out of 3 weeks, 2 weeks for writing and reading and writing, and one last week just for revision. Okay, so if you have 3 days to write your paper, 2 days for writing and 1 day for revision. Okay, so basically what happens is that when we write our paper for the first time, there are many problems which do not uh, appear unless we read our work for the second time. Okay, anyways, that I'm not going to discuss the revision right now. I'm going to discuss the writing process today. Now, in the writing process, after you are done with your reading, your first step should be to reread the notes that you have taken and rearrange them. Now, rearrange those notes in such a manner that you should be able to use those notes to develop the text of your paper. So one rule that you can adopt is this: if you have notes from 5 articles, you can tell yourself, okay, you will be writing 5 paragraphs. Each paragraph will be with reference to one of those 5 articles that you have read. This is a way to organize your writing. Okay, so on MS Word, you can put down your notes. So 5 sets of notes, each set for one article, and then reread those notes and think about the argument that you can develop of those particular notes. Now, here is where you will need to use your creativity. You have to think about that. Given the notes that you have with you on your page from one particular resource, what argument you can develop based upon those notes. Okay, so basically you are planning to write at least one paragraph based upon those notes. I'm saying one paragraph because I'm assuming that you're supposed to write 5 paragraphs in total, right? But that really depends on the kind of project that you are doing. So let's see, you will be writing roughly 1000 words. I think 1000 words for your argument. We can double check with that, okay? But anyways, if you are writing 1000 words, that means you will be writing, uh, that means you can write 5 paragraphs on that, okay? And out of those 5 paragraphs, you will have each paragraph of 200 words. And a 200 words paragraph is a little a little big paragraph. It's not a small paragraph, right? But still it makes sense. It is okay to have a 200 word paragraph, but the ideal length should be 150 words, right? So if you're writing 5 paragraphs in this way, each paragraph for 200 words, you will have to develop your argument in such a manner that you that your paragraph should have a topic sentence, it should have supporting detail, and it should have a concluding statement. Okay, so use your notes to develop all these parts of each paragraph. Okay, how exactly are you going to use those notes? Again, that depends on the nature of your writing, but very generally speaking, you should paraphrase most of the notes that you have taken. Do not write lot many quotations in each paragraph. I would suggest one quote per paragraph is enough. How lengthy the quote should be? I would say not more than 2 lines. Okay. Why? Because basically in this project, you are practicing to write for yourself. If you put too many quotations, then you will not get chance to practice your own writing. So maximum of 2 lines of quotation, whether they are small phrases or they are full sentences, but in together, all together, maximum 2 lines of quotation in each paragraph. Okay, so you should use those notes to develop your argument in each paragraph. So each paragraph will be an argument, having a topic sentence, supporting details, and a concluding sentence. Right. So if you move this way, then after you have written your 5 paragraphs, all those 5 paragraphs will be based upon the resources that you have been reading, that you have been consulting. And this way, you will be able to manage your project, in a little more systematic manner, right? Also, once you have read all the readings and you have notes with you, you are in a better position to decide how many paragraphs will be just fine. You might have to write more than one paragraph with reference to any one particular resource because you found that resource to be a little more lengthier or a little more relevant. Okay, so of course you can play around this basic structure that you have told you. Okay, you don't have to strictly follow just 5 paragraphs. You might have 6 or you might have 4, right? But then you should move according to a plan. Okay, uh, so for example, don't write the paragraphs randomly. Okay, don't put down the ideas randomly. They won't make any sense to you. Okay, so this is how you can, manage your overall project of writing. So you need to develop study habit where you allocate time either every day of the week or every other day of the week for reading and writing, and then complete your reading with the notes, and then finally write your paper using those notes. Okay. So this is about overall managing your project. Now, this, you know, these instructions are not just for this paper that you are writing for the course. Rather, these instructions are for any paper that you write for any course. Okay. For other courses, you will have different kind of readings, different number of readings, and various lengths of your papers and assignments. Okay. But the uh, strategy to manage your project, it will remain same. Okay, so you should use the same strategy to manage your projects, writing projects in other courses as well. All right, so